Welcome to a very special episode of Old Drunken Discography. An episode filled with wonder, excitement, and joy, with an extra helping of nostalgia. Tonight, we will be tackling the topics that are gripping today's youth, including and not limited to: is Taylor Swift a country artist? Is she pop? Both? Perhaps neither. Do genres even matter? Any and all references to Mutt Lange that may or may not suggest that he is an evil super genius criminal mastermind who is subverting the populace of the entire world to his twisted will through the manipulation of brain functions through the use of sound are completely unfounded and should not be taken seriously. Any and all evidence presented in supporting such outlandish beliefs are circumstantial at best, and at worst, the drunk ravings of an idiot being employed solely for comedic effect. Seriously, there's a great argument for him being the best producer ever. So please join us in tonight's revelry and be sure to enjoy yourself. Tonight's episode contains adult content, adult situations, adult language, drinking, graphic violence, and strong sexual content. Viewer discretion is advised. Thanks again for watching, and now, let's start drinking.
Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography, where old friends, fans, and a bunch of old fuckers come together to talk about music. Today we're talking about Def Leppard's Slang. If you haven't watched the previous videos, I would recommend watching those first so you can see our ranks and how we came to where we are. If you're watching this video, which is probably the only review of Def Leppard's Slang on the internet, we appreciate you. Consider subscribing. With that out of the way, Cowboy, why don't you get us started with 1996 and Def Leppard's Slang?
Well, I was hyped for Slang. I've been waiting and waiting for Slang.
Can confirm.
They mentioned it 3 years prior. They first mentioned about working on it, and that was around the time Vault came out, and When Love and Hate Collide, which technically was Steve Clark's last guitar work, his last songwriting part on the guitar work was done with When Love and Hate Collide. But carrying on into Slang, 1996, Slang came out. I was really hyped for it. Sophomore in high school. Just been ready for it. And my first initial listen to it, my first thought was confusion. I was confused because I was expecting, I wasn't expecting the shift that they took with this album. But it grew on me very quickly. I quickly just embraced it and took it in. And I'm glad I did. But I'm glad I did embrace it because first and foremost, it shows that Rick Allen can still kick ass on an acoustic set, because he used an acoustic set on this album, and that shows the strength within him. He's gonna still do it. And he didn't always need an electronic kit. And Truth, my first thought was it was because of this distortion and sound about the song. It was kind of, they were trying to go 90s alternative with the whole thing, and I fought that with Jason, especially, defended it. I wouldn't say now that it was an actual alternative album, but it was alternative for them. It was different. It was a different direction. They tried different sounds, different ways. Rick Savage came back up for the first time in years and threw out a bass solo with "Work It Out." That was a big highlight for me. Another tribute to Steve Clark with "Blood Runs Cold." Very touching song. Probably the worst closing track I have to say from them though is "Pearl of Euphoria." It wasn't my greatest closing track on that album by far, but Jason will tell you I've defended this album for years. It has a fan following all on its own. Huge, lots of fans out there that love the Slang album. It was Vivian Campbell's first album with them, doing recording with them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he got 2 songwriting credits as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna follow. Are you done, Cowboy? I'm gonna follow up after you.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't confirm everything Cowboy says is true. He did defend this record. He's been a Def Leppard fan through and through since the beginning. Slang is the Def Leppard that divides the fans into 2 camps. Those who can look at their favorite band and say, well, they can't all be good. And then those that will blindly defend anything the band does, even if it's vastly different, unauthentic, and bad. Fun fact about Slang, it was the first Def Leppard album to fail to achieve platinum status in the U.S. Truth. Opening track's not about rocking. You know what that means.
Ain't no rock.
Sounds like a cross between Bush and Filter.
That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Turn to Dust. It's a little slower than Truth, but just as generic. It's like a cross between Collective Soul and the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah.
Even the guitar solo was uninteresting and lazy. Slang.
It could have went on Aerosmith's 9 Live album.
No. I don't think so.
No Desmond Child on this one.
No, we ain't. We'll get to Desmond Child. Slang reminded me of a Janet Jackson song. Musically it was okay, but the lyrics were what the fuck. All I Want Is Everything. This is more of what I was expecting from a post-grunge era Def Leppard. All I Want is decent for what it is. It feels more authentic coming from the band musically than the last 3 tracks. Work It Out. This one sounds like a cross between Candlebox and Dishwalla, but it kind of works with that Def Leppard sound. It keeps that great pre-chorus thing that they're good at, but Cowboy pointed it out. What the fuck is up with that funky bass thing going on about halfway in? It's cool sounding, but it doesn't really fit the song. It's like Rick's like, "Hey, look at me." It plays this funky like Chili Pepper shit. Again, the guitar solo is kind of lazy for Def Leppard. This is probably my favorite track so far. It feels the most like Def Leppard. Breathe a Sigh.
Well, and if I can interrupt you real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was what was popular in '96. No guitar solos.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, so even the fact that like the guitar solos are barely there or really super short, like they're just kind of following the trend of the time.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'll get into that. Oh,
we're not setting trends anymore. Now we're following.
Right. 100%. Breathe a Sigh, I didn't know that was about Clark. Musically, it was a snooze fest.
No, Blood Runs Cold's about Steve.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, same notes. We'll get to that. Breathe a Sigh, snooze fest. At least it wasn't that long. Sounded like a bad boy band. Slow jam mixed with cracker. Deliver Me. Deliver Me. It was my notes say Oh, so angsty and edgy. I don't want to
Yeah.
come back down from this cloud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Gift of Flesh. Well, I'll be fucked. Def Leppard can rock on Slang. It may just be the fact that I sat through 6 other mediocre songs to get to this, but Gift of Flesh has some good shit going on.
Yeah.
Blood Runs Cold. Well, that was short lived. Back to the snooze fest. Even after the whole band comes in, nothing really happens. The background vocals are super distracting and add too much in parts with all the ahs and oohs. I mean, usually Def Leppard's background vocals are pretty good. You know, they're pretty spot on, but it didn't work in this song for me. Where Does Love Go When It Dies? It was honestly hard to tell when Blood Runs Cold turned into Where Does Love Go? I was still trying to find the toothpicks from my eyelids. Except for the part when he says, would it ever be enough? My mind went to 2 steps behind. Were they trying to rewrite it because it was a hit? Question mark.
The answer is yes.
Pearl of Euphoria. If Joe would have whispered, hey man, nice shot. Jesus Christ. This song is way too long and just drags on and on. Contender for the worst Def Leppard song ever. And for shits and giggles, I listened to Move With Me Slowly. As soon as it started, I heard Tracy Chapman's Give Me One Good Reason. It got stuck in my head, so thank you, Slang. You gave me that.
So, here's what I got out of this album. So this album came out in 1996, right? You know who else had an album in 1996 that this reminded me of? NSYNC. And who did it better? NSYNC did it better.
Ooh.
The first half of this album, as I was listening through it, I'm like, oh, it's a boy band, and they tried to make it kind of rock. It didn't work for me. You know who else had an album in 1996? Backstreet Boys. They also did it better. It just doesn't. I'll be honest, and that kind of is an issue when you're listening to an album. That's the reason why I listen to all these albums a couple times through. Right? When you get an initial reaction, then that just sticks with you. And I just kind of caught and latched onto it the first time listening to it. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a bunch of like just boy band songs, kind of just with a little rock edge to them. That's at least how I interpreted it. Unfortunately, I was like, oh, NSYNC came out in 95. Their album wasn't released until 96. But Boyz II Men had their albums come out sooner. So, there is precedent on that aspect.
We're talking about Boyz II Men here in the 1991 Hooli High Harmony, which is a great record.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But, listen, it's this. When I think Def Leppard, I don't think of the sounds that come on this album. I really don't. I'll be honest. I think of your Pyromania sounds, your Hysteria sounds, a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressive, but like this album seemed like a mellower album overall as opposed to their more upbeat, going somewhere that they had in all their other albums up to this point.
That's weird. That's interesting. I don't think it's not that Def Leppard was ever aggressive.
Like, aggressive's the wrong word, but you like
it still has energy. It's not like a slog fest for the most part. I mean, for a Def Leppard record, it's still
right. It's not Euphoria.
Well, we'll get to that. It's not
we're getting to that.
Like it still rocks. It just doesn't. It's not authentic. Like it's not. It doesn't.
There's nothing original here.
Yeah, it doesn't have that Def Leppard mutt-laying sound.
No.
And if you're gonna listen to Def Leppard, I would assume that's what you want.
Yeah. You don't want NSYNC.
This is after the Foo Fighters self-titled. This is after like Nirvana and
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam was on Yield at the well, no, they weren't on Yield, but like they were on No Code at this point. I mean, Green Day's Dookie was already out at this point.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely some Downward Spiral influence on here as well, especially in Truth.
Yeah, just a little bit of Flood. Inspired,
Yeah. A little Charlie Clouser action going on here. Yeah.
I don't. It's a dumb album cover. This was the first album. I mean, me and Cowboy we'd already been friends for a while. I was 16. You know, I was already discovering better stuff, and he stuck by his roots. And when Def Leppard put out a record, and he said, "Oh, you'll like this one. It's grunge." I didn't like it then. I like it even less now because to me it feels after hearing it and trying to rank it and doing a little bit of research and basically I mean they admitted that they couldn't put out a Def Leppard sounding record in 96. They had to adapt and it just feels unauthentic to me. It feels fake. I think if they would have put out a Hysteria sounding record in 96, I would have enjoyed it more. I would have given them props for sticking to Def Leppard. This is like them chasing a trend that was already dead by 96.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that happens when you're only putting out an album every, what? This is 4 years after?
4 years, yeah.
Which is a quick turnaround for Def Leppard.
Yeah. That is quick. I don't give you... Well, for your average band, 4 years, that's a pretty long
lifetime,
time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, The Offspring's 11 years, but it's still a considerable amount of time. When you think about it, the band's now 4 years older than they were the last album.
And a lot happened musically between 92 and 96.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot changed.
Grunge came, and honestly, grunge was basically out the door in 96, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, grunge was dead at 94.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
By 96, you're talking like...
Goo Goo Dolls and Live and boy bands and Puff Daddy and Korn and Linkin Bizkit.
Yeah, new metal's like right around the corner.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar came
in
96.
Yeah.
1996, yeah.
Eminem was already... I think Eminem was coming right around the corner, too. Poor timing. Yeah. But honestly, I can't think of a time where this would have been good.
Yeah, I really, again, first time listening to it, I remember when they released it and were advertising it as the grunge album. I went, well, then it's not for me, because that's not what I would want from a Def Leppard album. And then actually hearing it, like, it's not even a grunge album. It's more like Matchbox 20 meets Bad U2. Like, this is just adult contemporary boring rock. Except for when they try to get funky and sound like a Prince song, and it doesn't even work. Which brings me to the other advertising key where, oh, but Rick Allen's playing acoustic drums again. Yeah, there's some acoustic drums on there, but there's a bunch of electronic drums too. And yeah, real cymbals always sound better than fake ones. But yeah, there are definitely drum parts here that, unless he's overdubbing multiple parts, are physically impossible for him to be playing on an acoustic drum set.
They played when they toured that album. They played the whole set acoustic. He played the whole set acoustic.
Well, it was a hybrid though, because he has to play the snare drum electronically.
All right.
Yeah, it's a hybrid.
What year did I Don't Want to Miss a Thing come out?
1998.
Okay, what year did what was the album after Get a Grip? 9 Lives?
9 Lives.
Yeah.
What year did that come out?
97.
Okay. Just checking. I don't know what it is with these bands with like the Indian influence with the like the Hindu.
Well, that goes back to their Beatles. That goes back to the Beatles.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the Beatles did it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
Well, and that brings up a fun question for the panel here. Who did it first? Who turned into your grandma? Steven Tyler or Joe Elliott? Who did it first?
This reminds me, Cowboy, tell Tim what you told me the other day about Def Leppard. They were the first English act to do what?
Marry fuse rock and pop, hard rock and pop.
Well, okay, so you'd have to define pop then, because Zeppelin did almost all of this stuff in the 70s.
Which Def Leppard is heavily influenced by Zeppelin.
And Zeppelin are an English rock band that it became a pop band.
Yeah, I mean, I would say
Who in the Rain?
There was some Who.
All of My Love.
The Who had, Mary Ann with a shaky hand, and
that was in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bob O'Reilly, Behind Blue Eyes.
Yeah, I don't think Def Leppard was the first English band to merge pop and rock.
I weren't one of the very first, but they, an English band that broke into the United States.
Let's look at their influences, though, who were all English bands. Like, you got The Sweet, The Slade, T-Rex. Yeah. David Bowie.
Yeah.
I don't think Def Leppard's even on the list of possible for that one.
You couldn't help but resist to bring this up, dude. You had to.
When you said it, I was flabbergasted. And then 10 minutes later, we were talking about Yeah. And you said it was a cover album full of their influences. And the very first song is 20th Century Boy. And I just wanted to wrap around so they were the first to merge.
Certainly not T-Rex.
I just wanted to circle back around to that.
Aren't the Bay City Rollers English?
I think so. I think so. We'll get to yeah. Slang. So, does anybody else have anything else to say about Slang?
No.
Yeah, so I got a couple things I want to say about it. So
the floor is yours.
As we've established, we're chasing trends instead of creating them at this point. And Jason brought up an interesting point where, grunge was already dead by this point. And they say, grunge killed bands, and then they usually use bands like Def Leppard specifically when they finish that thought. And I would almost argue that it wasn't grunge that killed the hair metal bands. It was the hair metal bands, because they were always just chasing trends. And when the trends changed and they didn't understand where it went from the last trend that they were chasing, which was, pyromania. Yeah. I mean, the 96 was such a weird time for music. And we will establish it, but I know we've talked personally about it where, the 90s were dead by 96. It started
you
off
had-
so good, but
You had Crash Test Dummies come out of '96. I mean,
yeah,
Shout out
yeah,
Coldplay.
like yeah.
Shout out Coldplay. Nice.
Yeah, this is chasing. This is definitely the sound of 1996, but it's the sound of everything that was really uncool about 1996.
Yep. Because by 96, I had already discovered like Green Day's Dookie, The Offspring Smash, and that led me down roads that MTV and TK101 didn't.
Sure.
And by the time Slang came out,
Which is very firmly on that radio / MTV road that does not deviate.
well, I don't remember them being on MTV for this. Did they have a
Oh, no,
video?
they weren't. But they were trying to sound like a bunch of bands that were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our Lady Peace. What year did that nonsense come out?
Nice. I don't know. It all blends together. The late 90s
Yeah.
was such a...
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Well, yes, we will. Yes, we will. The late 90s. I wonder what happened in a year called 97 that's going to relate to this. I don't know. Stay tuned to find out, I guess.
Well, I wasn't born that year.
I was 17. The good old days. Listening to Veruca Salt and Bush and Razor Blade Suitcase.
Sneaking into
you
punk
know?
rock shows. And
As I say, 97, that was X Day.
Yep. So I guess real quickly, let's circle back around to Def Leppard here. Let's throw Vault a bone here and talk about Vault. This came out previously before Slang. Thank God. This is a... If you were to get a Def Leppard record, Vault would be a good one to get.
mm-hmm.
If you like Pour Some Sugar on Me, you'll like Vault.
yeah.
One new song, When Love and Hate Collide.
And one song that isn't from Hysteria or Pyromania.
You ever needed someone so bad?
Oh, that is on here. Okay, so we got one song from his, two songs from Adrenaline's. Okay. Even then, though, they're leaning pretty heavy
Oh,
on
they,
two
they,
albums.
they know what worked.
Shout out Adrenaline.
Emphasis on worked, past tense.
Yes. Well, you know,
I'm willing
maybe-
to bet. I'm willing to bet Vault outsold Slang.
well, you know, Mutt Lang needed some more money. So, and he's got 1, 2, 3,
15.
11 out of 15 songwriting credits on this best of compilation.
I remember when this came out. Like Cowboy was all about Vault,
That's right.
and I gotta
It was
give it
all
to
of
him. It's a good album cover. Like
Yeah.
Vault, even though it's their greatest hits, you would think that would be like a B-sides, thing. The Vault, the songs you haven't heard. But whatever, it's still a theme and it works, I guess.
I guess it was their way of saying they're going to put all the. That was their turning point where they were going to put everything they've done since the beginning up to that point and put it in the vault. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
they're turning a new leaf. They're going grunge.
Right? This is to prepare you. Like, you remember all these songs that you loved? Well, fucking forget them because they're gone until we need to,
We're
rewrite them.
angsty. We're mad at our parents too, guys. We can relate.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Truth.
Until they turn around and say, "We're sorry, guys. We're unvaulting everything." No, we'll get to that later. So yeah, Slang. Let's give it the good old ranking here.
Oh, I had
Cowboy-
one other thing I wanted to say about it.
All right.
One other trend of 1996 that they were chasing is all the rock bands that actually started in the 80s felt like changing their logo in 96.
Like 96 specifically?
A little band called Metallica put out an album with a new logo. Slayer changed their logo. Def Leppard changed their logo. Motley Crue changed their logo.
That's right. Wasn't 1996 also the same year that Load came out?
Yep.
From Metallica? Yeah.
Yep.
Holy
Sure.
crap.
Yep.
That was a trend in the industry among the rock bands that were active in the 80s.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're you can see they're trying to appeal to
update, yeah,
that live generation, that Matchbox 20 fan base. We're mysterious, but we're relatable guys.
Didn't the Chili Peppers, like, this was One Hot Minute at this point? Didn't they change their logo?
Yeah, theirs makes sense though, because like they didn't have Frusciante. So they were trying to like distance themselves.
Sure.
Only to turn around. And,
it was a trend.
Yeah, it was a trend. That's interesting. I've never noticed that. I don't like it. I think, like, I mean, this is Def fucking Leppard right here. That's the logo right there. If you're not using that, get the hell out of here.
Get the rock out of here.
And that's the truth.
That's right.
All right, Cowboy. I think it's your turn to guess where everyone would rank Slang.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna probably say everybody's gonna put it at number 6.
Well, you are correct for me.
You're right for me.
3 for 3.
And go ahead and do it.
Well, so on through the night, hasn't moved finally.
That's a good observation too. I gave Cowboy the easy one. Like, guess where we're gonna put Slang. Whose turn is it? Is it my turn? It's my turn again.
I think it's gonna be your turn next.
Shit. I
think this was gonna be a hard one.
Yeah, I know. I wanted you guys to guess where I'm gonna put that one.
Number 3.
All right. Well, that has been our ranking and conversation about Slang. I would like to apologize to all the Def Leppard fans out there, the real ones in the Facebook group, not all the bots. And I'll give a shout out to Joe.
The real ones all know High and Dry's the best anyway, so.
Nah, man. Pyromania is winning right now. We got 2 votes. Yeah, stick around. We're going to be talking about Euphoria next. I'm excited for that one. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Stick around. We want to give a shout out to thank you, Bill, for stepping in our time of need. Shout out to Heinster. Hopefully he's still watching us. He did awesome. And a shout out to Cowboy for getting his audio fixed.
Yeah, thanks.
And of course, as always, the lovely Tim and myself. We'll see you next time. Be safe. Make good decisions. Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around.